The much anticipated move to reopen schools has caused both relief and concern for parents, and an alternative option is homeschooling. Boa van der Eems, the chairman of a homeschooling legal defense firm, explains the concept.
Home education is when a learner receives his or her education at his or her own home. So the important thing is it must happen at the home. The law doesn't prescribe who must provide the education, so families can be quite flexible. The parents can provide the education, they can use tutors or family members to help with the education.
Van der Eems says homeschooling has been misrepresented.
One of them is that in order to home educate your child, you need to be a qualified teacher. That is not true. The only qualification you need for home education is that you must be a parent. Another misconception is that if you do home education, you sit at home all the time, which is very far from the truth, because home educators go out and meet with other families and do all kinds of field trips and social events and sport events with other children outside the house.
Cape Town-based grade 10 pupil Amumvuyana is only a year into home learning through an online platform. Her mother Buhle Madlala runs her company and works odd hours from home, which motivated the move.
It was convenient for me to kind of have that setup, but more importantly, it was also encouraged by looking at the type of school setting that will speak to Amu's requirements, which has to do with a type of environment where she would have extra attention.
Amu says the transition from formal and traditional education system was difficult but worth it.
The experience of homeschooling is very self-independent, so it takes a lot of discipline, because no one's really there to watch you or to see if you're attending class every day. And it makes you manage your time very wisely.
Buhle says more exposure and accessibility to home education would help gain traction within the African community.
I think it is still starting for most African parents to look at it as an alternative. And I think slowly the interest is building and lots more people are talking about what it is. I think there's not a lot of us that share the experiences of how it is and what is required for this type of schooling.
Second-year computer science student Joshua Buerta is also a product of homeschooling. His parents were his educators since the start of his academic career and still continue to teach his siblings.
I didn't do a very formal program when I was small, when I was young. It was very informal. Like, for example, I would learn things. I learned to do research when I was a bit older, when I wanted a dog. So my parents told me, do research about the different breeds, and then I had to tell them about it and stuff like that. So there wasn't a very formal program. But when I got older and I was like sort of grade 10, I started doing Cambridge program, and then I matriculated with a Cambridge matric. People don't know I'm home educated until later into the conversation, and then they were like, what, really? And then I'll always joke and say, yes, that's why I'm so awkward. And then everyone laughs because I'm not awkward at all. So people usually expect people to not be socialized properly or not have friends. But home education is much more like real life.
Parents are encouraged to research a home learning system that will work for them and their children. Nosipho Mncube, SABC News, Johannesburg.